Welcome to the Total War Warhammer 2 Lords Tournament. Before we begin, let's go over the rules. The tournament will begin with heats to see who is the best lord from each faction. Whoever wins these heats will go on to the final to represent their race. The order of these heats has been randomly selected, as you can see, starting with the Tomb Kings and ending with the Lucky Bretonnia, who drew last and get to skip a round of finals thanks to the odd numbers. Once all of the racial heats have been played and everyone has their champions, they will all go head to head until only one remains as the true lord to rule all lords. Each battle will consist of one-on-one fights between two randomly selected lords from each faction. There will be no mounts or items allowed, but spells and abilities are enabled, so we should get to see some fireworks from some of the more magical competitors. To make sure we have a clear winner, the lords have also been set to never retreat, so these battles will be to the death. With all that being said, let's get to the fights. Today we have the Dark Elves. First up is Loki Fellheart. He's an anti-infantry unit as well as being a duelist, so will do very well in these one-on-one matchups. He also has a Sea Dragon Cloak, which gives him some very light yet sturdy armour. When he's not leading his men into battle, he likes pirating music online and playing the game Sea of Thieves. He says it's very accurate, contrary to what some might think. He has no family, but does have a pet parrot, and yes, it is called Polly. He's going against our supreme sorceress of beasts, Kate. She's just a spellcaster, but don't underestimate her because she will be a formidable matchup with those spells that she has. She enjoys many programs such as the Great Yorkshire Vet and other such things that feature animals being worked on. She has again no family. She does have a pet dog Rolo and a pet cat Rosie. Right, let's get into this battle. Let's get ready. Okay. Here we are at the Shrine of Cain, this is our venue for today. Loki again, as he is drawn first. He does need to make up the attack here, but I think that's going to be just fine for him. He's got plenty of stamina. He's going to not expend too much of it getting over here. And Kate, she's just waiting for him. You may also notice that this battle is taking place in the laboratory. That's because the update happened, and the mod I was using didn't get updated, and the user has said that they can't be updating since they're in school, which is totally fine. Okay, Loki's getting into range. I wonder if Kate's going to pop off any spells. Loki doesn't have any spells of his own, but he does have a few hexes and abilities that will be very useful in this charge. Okay, so letting off a spell, I believe. Yes, that is the missile spell. The Amber Spear, there it is. In the lore of the beast there. Loki is making his final approach. Now, he does have dual swords, which are going to be very, very good in one-on-one combat. Kate, she has a sword and a staff, which good for magic, but for one-on-one combat, I'm not too sure. Now, a lot of spells going off right now from Kate. I believe she's buffing herself. Yeah, look at that. She's giving herself upgraded Wizzian's Wild Form for weapon damage and armour, and then some speed and physical resistance, and then AP damage, and improved power rate, and all sorts is going off right now. Loki's also used all his abilities to get some speed, vigour, charge bonus, armour piercing, you name it, he has it. He also gave himself melee attack and defense just then, but it's just about worn off. Oh, this is going very, very well for Loki. I must say, Kate is absolutely getting decimated right now. Loki has barely lost any health whatsoever. It's only going to be a matter of time until Kate goes down here. Loki is just destroying her with those dual swords, and she is just taking it. She really needs to get some more hits in. And she's retreated for some reason, even though I set the leadership to be max. As we saw just then, it was a pretty one-sided battle. Kate did some fantastic spells, especially that Amber Spear at the start. Really did quite a nice little chunk of damage to Loki. But unfortunately, that was the only damage she was able to get done, because he just has so much armour, and he just decimates her with those dual swords and that duelist bonus when fighting against other lords. She just didn't really stand a chance. But again, admirable performance from both people, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Our next fighter is the Sorceress of Death, Persephone. She's just a spellcaster again, so will be equipping that sword and that staff, so probably won't be too good against anyone that's any stronger than her, which is basically anyone else in the roster that isn't a sorceress. She's of course fond of Greek mythology, which is her namesake, and she's also a big fan of Judge Judy, which I'm not too sure about that one. Her family, she has a husband called Hadrian, which you would think it was the closest she could find to Hades within the Dark Elf Empire. She'll be going up against the legendary Malekith, which, if you ask me, this is going to be a pretty one-sided fight, since he's also a spellcaster, but he's also armoured and shielded and is a melee expert, so he's going to be taking in that sword and shield, and he'll be able to just take her attacks on the chin. And when he's not leading the Dark Elf Empire into the ground, he likes to study for his GCSEs in statecraft, which are being taught by his mother, Maratha. His mother, also possibly something else going on there, but we're not going to touch on that just now. He also has Crone as his aunt, as she is also one of the wives of Cain. Right, let's get into the fight. Let's get ready. Okay, we're into the second battle now. I have fixed the leadership thing. I had to kind of go out and actually enable the mod this time, which were the loops on my part, but nevertheless, let's get into this battle. This time it's the Sorceress of Death. It's her turn to get up to Malekith and engage. He's just waiting there, sword on his shoulder, not caring the world. Look at this guy. He's so full of confidence right now. And to be honest, he really should be. I'm guessing this is going to be a very one-sided fight, quite like the last one, but hopefully we won't see any retreating this time. Now she does have access to the Law of Death obviously, and that's got plenty of good abilities for debuffing him and doing a little bit of damage, but nothing too extreme. Especially for one-on-one, she can't really use the Eye of Xerxes. Just using him. Spirit Leech, excellent spell to use on one-on-one combat. But Malekith, has he also used Spirit Leech? No, he's used the Word of Pain, which is taking down her melee attack and defense. Oh boy, that is not going to be good for her. If she's taking all these hits from Malekith, she is pretty screwed. She has no armor right now, so Malekith is just doing ridiculous amounts of damage. He's also used the Power of Darkness to increase his magic level so he can keep chunking out those spells. She's used Soul Blight to take down his armor and weapon damage, which, I mean, looking at things, it's not really going to make that big of a difference, but, you know, any little helps when you're in this matchup here that's so one-sided. Malekith already completely drenched in blood. Persephone is doing all she can with that fantastic staff slash there, but Malekith, he's just blocking those attacks. He is so much larger and more powerful than she is. Even if he wasn't wearing any armor, this would be such a one-sided fight. He just has that sword and shield skill, as well as all the spells. He can just take all this damage right on the chin. She's not getting through that. Fantastic hits from both fighters right now. Persephone using more and more spells, trying to give herself the advantage, but it's not going to be enough. She's on the ground, and I believe that is over. Another fantastic fight, great display from both performers, but it was just one-sided all the way. We could tell it was going to go that way. Malekith, he just has that insane armor and melee attack and defense, and then the weapon damage just goes straight through. It doesn't quite have all the armor-piercing damage in the world, but it's certainly enough when you've only got 10 armor. He's doing upwards of 300 damage per hit. But again, very, very good display from Persephone there. It was admirable, and I'm sure she'll be cheering on her lord from the sides. Next up to the plate is Maratha. She is a spellcaster, she's armor-piercing, and she's anti-large, which isn't going to give her all the advantages in the world in this matchup, but the armor-piercing will be very, very, very good against anyone that she comes up against. Unfortunately, she's going up against a sorcerer, so it's kind of wasted, but I mean, she's still going to do 340 damage because they've only got 10 armor, which is very, very pitiful. She likes to create Skillshare courses in her spare time for Malekith to learn statecraft and other diplomatic things, such as telling the High Elves to f*** off. She only has the family of Malekith, her son, and of course her ex-husband slash ex-groom, Cain. As all the ladies of the Dark Elf faction, they really can't keep away from that guy. Maratha will be going against Hestia, who is our supreme sorceress of fire. Again, she's just a spellcaster, so they're going into that sword and staff and probably not doing too much damage in melee, so she's going to have to rely on her spells. Fortunately, she does have the Law of Fire, which is one of the more damaging laws, so we'll have to see how she uses that in battle. Her hobbies include dropping fire mixtapes and learning to dance, which, you know, each their own, I guess. For her family, she has 5 siblings. She doesn't really get along with them much, apart from that one guy. Here we go. Maratha is drawn first, so again, she does have the task of crossing this great divide to get up to fight. Now we can see that Hestia has already used that fireball, and that is doing, that did a little bit of damage to Maratha. It didn't get a direct hit, but it did certainly do some splash damage there. Now she's going to be able to use all these damaging spells, but she has to use them before Maratha gets in range, otherwise she's going to end up hurting herself with the Burning Head and the Flame Storm. She really wants to get some of those on top of her if she can, but again, the Piercing Bolts of Burning going to do some great damage from her range there, and then once they get into melee, she can use the Cascading Fire Cloak and, you know, the Flaming Sword of Ruin to do some excellent buffs on herself and some debuffs on Maratha. So here we go, they're getting into range now. She's using another fireball there. Will this one hit? It doesn't quite hit her directly, but it did pass through it, so that's going to do some fantastic damage. If only she'd got that explosive damage as well, that could have really turned the tide in her favour here. But they're about to enter melee. At this point, Hestia actually has the advantage on HP, but she's just buffed herself with missile damage for some reason and weapon damage. And she's also given herself increased power recharge. Maratha, what's she done? Given herself Deadly Onslaught for that charge bonus and armor piercing damage, and then some weapon damage. They're into melee now, and at this point I believe it's all going to go for Maratha, because Hestia is just not going to be able to withstand that armor piercing damage that's coming into it. Oh, fantastic halberd swipe there from Maratha. Hestia really needs to get into melee range, start doing something right now, because she's just taking these hits and not getting away. There we go, fantastic counter slash from Hestia there, sorry. Maratha keeps knocking her back though. These girls really need to get into close combat and really need to start upping these hits. Let's have a look at the HP. Maratha is just resisting all this damage. Hestia is basically down. It's just going to be a few more hits from Maratha, and then Hestia is going to be out of this fight, and Maratha is going into the 8th finals. Series of 1 or 2 more hits here, and then Hestia is going to be out. Oh, Maratha is shaken. I don't reckon she can pull it back at this point, but it's excellent to always make some damage to your opponents, even in these late stages of the battle. Oh, there we go, Hestia is down. Maratha takes the victory. These battles against the legendary lords, the standard lords, are always quite one-sided, but you really do have to admire the guile that these normal lords tend to bring. They always put out their all, they always use as many spells as they can to try and do their best to get to the final. And even if it isn't enough, you really do have to admire that at least. But in the end, it was Maratha's fight, and she will be going on to the 8 finals. Our next fighter is the Supreme Sorceress of Darkness. Her name is Erebus. Again, just a spellcaster, so she's going to be coming in with the staff and the sword, which isn't the best matchup, but she's also going against another Supreme Sorcerer, so you never know, it could go either way with this one. I think it's really going to come down to the spells. Her hobbies include listening to My Chemical Romance, and she's also a Chaos Sympathizer, which while not the most popular hobby amongst Dark Elves, isn't the least popular. There are also rumours that Slanesh is her father, but those have yet to be confirmed. She'll be going against Sandra, who is our Sorceress of Shadow. Again, spellcaster, coming with the staff and the sword, but so is Erebus, so again, could go either way. Her hobbies include going to children's birthday parties and doing shadow puppetry, and also throwing lots and lots of shade. She doesn't have any family of her own, but she does have her father James in the crowd supporting her. Right, let's get into the fight. Okay, Erebus does need to make the charge here, and Sandra can just sit there and wait for her to get into range. Now these ladies have very different spell sets. Sarah's got lots of debuffs such as the Enfeebling Foe and the Withering, which can take down the armour, but she doesn't really have any armour. But that melee defense and melee attack reduction will be very, very useful in these one-on-one fights. Here we go, the initial charge. They've both popped off some buffs and debuffs on themselves. Here we see the Erebus. Wow, she's buffed herself crazy amounts. Enfeebling Foe. Oh no, she's been debuffed. She used Arcane Conduit, and she's also debuffed Sandra over here. But Sandra has used Occam's Mind Razor for that armor piercing damage and that weapon damage, and she's also using Arcane Conduit to increase her magic reserve so she can keep spamming that. Wow, she's doing, both of these girls are doing lots of damage to each other, but Erebus is really doing more damage right here, and Sandra is taking quite a lot. But again, this could still go either way. All it needs is one more spell, and then this can turn the tide very, very quickly. It's quite hard to see what's going on with these two ladies. Now, both covered in blood already. That was a fantastic initial volley. Oh my god, Sandra just took a fantastic hit there from Erebus. It's quite hard to tell these ladies apart. Oh, Erebus is absolutely got the advantage right now. Sandra is basically on 0 health already. This is going super quickly. She's getting some fantastic hits of her own, but again, it's just going to be a matter of time until she takes that last hit. 835 health to 1600. That is no question going in Erebus's favour. 561, she ain't got a chance. She isn't avoiding any of these attacks she really needs to. She isn't landing any of her own. This is not going well at all for Sandra, and I believe Erebus is just 1 or 2 attacks away from taking this home. Oh, Erebus is knocked to the floor though. Is she down? Oh no! She's getting back up, and she seemed to knock Sandra up on her way. Don't know what happened there, but Erebus takes the victory. That match went by super quickly. They had that initial standoff where they were waiting for their spells to come up so they could use them on each other, and then after that it was just crazy amounts of buffs being thrown around and debuffs to the other person. Erebus was somehow just getting through the melee defense and just landing every single hit, whereas Sandra just seemed to be rolling up zeros every single time. First 8 final is Loki Fellheart versus Malekith. Now, Loki does have that duelist bonus, but Malekith is just a legend. He's got fantastic spells and damage, and I'm not sure that Loki is going to really be able to get through that, but he does have much more armor than Malekith does, so I really can't tell this one from the start. Loki is again in the position where he needs to make up to Malekith here to engage the battle. Unfortunately, he doesn't have many spells that he can use from a range, but Malekith does. He has several spells that he can use to his advantage to do some damage to Loki before he gets it. He can use Chill Wind to push him back and reduce his speed. Now we're about to enter casting range. See some fireworks go off, guys. Malekith just waiting patiently for Loki to get into charge range, conserving his energy. Very wise move there. Here we go. He's using some spells. I'm guessing that's Word of Pain. Reduces melee attack, so Loki is not going to be hitting any of those attacks, and you can just see Malekith managed to avoid them, and Loki has already taken... Oh wait, no, that was Loki that managed to avoid, and Malekith's taken some damage. Did not expect that. Loki is yet to take damage. Malekith needs to get some hits in right now, or Malekith is going to pull the early advantage. He hasn't done much damage to Malekith, but he's definitely done more than 0. Loki just took his first hit, and it's 300 damage. Really can't tell how this one's going to go. It could go either way. It does say that Malekith is losing decisively. I did not expect that. That extra armor must be really just helping Loki in this battle. Do forget that Malekith doesn't have that much armor piercing damage in relation to things. I think he has about 140, which is 147, which is okay, but when you're going against something that has 110 damage, you really need to be getting all of your armor-piercing damage going through, or you're just not going to hold up. Malekith again using more spells to try and give himself the advantage here. I really don't know if it's going to be enough. I did not expect Loki to be doing this well, but he is. Or he's just used Soul Stealer, which absorbs hit points from Locus. That's going to be very, very useful for Malekith to start getting a bit of regeneration, which is exactly what he needs here. But Loki has just used Dreaded Duelist again, so he's going to be doing more melee damage and getting melee defense, as well as speed and a vigor reduction from Foe Seeker, which is very, very useful in these one-on-one matchups. Malekith really needs to focus and top turn his back on Loki here and get some more hits in, or this is going to be an extremely one-sided battle. Them red swords from Loki just piercing through Malekith's armor. Neither of these fellas have armor-piercing damage, but Malekith is just not doing enough. Looked like he got a bit deflected off Malekith's shield there. Fantastic block. Where are we standing on health points? Malekith down to his last 1,300, whereas Loki is on 1,800. It could really still go either way. I can't call this one just yet. Loki again using Deadly Onslaught there to get some extra armor-piercing damage and weapon damage, sorry. Malekith, I think he's probably run out of magic at this point, so he really needs to just rely on getting tons and tons of hits in. Could still go either way. Malekith is sub 1,000 health. I think that might be the nail in the coffin. Loki is smelling blood in the water, and he's going in for the kill right now. 600 damage. That's all that Loki needs to get through. Then he is taking this home, and he'll be going on to the semi-finals. Malekith could still pull it back though, get plenty of spells in there, absorb some of his HP points, get some melee defense. Any of these things, and he could get himself into the finals. But I just don't think he's going to be able to do it in time. There he is on 145 health. He's debuffed Loki here, but I really don't reckon it's going to be enough. 145 health, what's that? 1 or 2 more hits, then he's out. Oh, but Loki is rocked. Malekith can take the advantage here. He could take it. Oh, no, he's down. Never mind, Malekith is gone. Loki takes the victory. We'll be heading to the semi-finals. I must say that one didn't go how I expected. I would have expected Malekith to clean house, but those stats just really come into play. That Sea Dragon cloak from Loki, it offers him so much protection, 110 armor. That is a fantastic stat for a Lord. Malekith just doesn't have that armor-piercing damage to get through it. He did have the shield and the melee defense, but it just wasn't enough. And in the end, Loki did take it home and will be going on to the semi-finals against the winner of the next matchup. But before that, a quick word from our sponsor today, Air. When you're on the run from the war, sprinting to catch a train, or exploring the world underwater, Air has you covered. You can find it in cans, tanks, or even floating around your house. Take a breath and enjoy Air today. Here we go, the next matchup is Maratha versus Erebus.
Let's get ready to roll again.
Here we are, Maratha again, she has to cross this great divide. She drew first. Erebus just waiting for her. Probably going to throw off a few spells once I get close. And I get into casting range now, should see some fireworks pretty quick. Here we go. That looks like a debuff coming from Erebus onto Maratha. Maratha going to reply with something of her own. No, she's buffed herself Deadly Onslaught with that charge bonus, arm piercing damage and weapon damage, but she's got a reduction in melee defense and melee attack, which is going to give Erebus lots of advantages, but is not doing enough. Maratha has such superior melee attack and weapon damage that she is cutting straight through Erebus. She's already down 2,000 health, whereas Maratha has barely even been touched yet. This is not good for Erebus. Maratha is still yet to take that. There we go, she finally takes 200 damage, but Erebus is already down 2,000 basically. This is going Maratha's favour all the way. That supreme armor-piercing damage. Look at that, 340. That is going basically all the way through because she's reduced Erebus's armor to 0 with that Soul Blight. She also reduced the weapon damage, so Erebus is really going to be doing nothing until that wears off. Whereas Maratha, she can just keep hitting and hitting away and taking basically no damage whatsoever. This is looking like an extremely one-sided fight here, but more spells come off from Erebus onto Maratha. Oh, she's absorbing the hit points from Maratha as a very, very wise move. You want to get as much replenishment done as you can, because when you're taking this much damage, you really want to be taking, you really want to be getting some bit back when you are in this melee combat. Erebus is knocked to ground. She's at her last 1,000 health right now. Maratha is going in for the kill. She really needs to maintain this pressure if she wants to take it home. Look at Maratha, she's just doing over 300 damage every single time. This could be the last hit here. There it is. Erebus is down. Maratha is going in to the quarterfinals. I really thought that one was going to go either way, but Maratha just has that armor-piercing damage, and although these spellcasters only have 10 or 15 armor, it is just not enough. It just makes such a big difference when all of that 340 is basically going through and just... You could see those hits there. She was doing upwards of 400 damage per hit somehow, and she was giving herself all these buffs. But again, we do have to commend Erebus. She did make it to the 8 finals, and she does deserve a hand for that. So, There you are. On to the next fight. This is Dreadlord Steve. He's armoured and fires armour-piercing missiles, but no armour-piercing in melee, which if you ask me is going to give him a huge disadvantage in this early game because he can't run around and do armour-piercing attacks for the entire match because Sandra is just going to close that gap. He also has the ability Volley of Dark Arrows, which will be very good for the initial charge, but again, I don't know if it'll be enough to give him the advantage. He really enjoys the show The Walking Dead, and Stallone movies featuring judges for some reason. And again, his wife, who we'll be going up against in this battle, is called Sandra. Now, the Dreadlord of Sword and Shield, Sandra, she's armoured and shielded, so will be able to protect herself from a lot of those ranged attacks that Steve is going to throw out at the beginning of this fight, so that'll be very, very useful for her. And once she's closed the gap, she's also a melee expert, so I get the feeling it's going to be very, very one-sided once they get into it. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see. In her free time, she likes to attend Slipknot concerts, and she also enjoys crochet, which is a very interesting mix there. And as we all know, Steve is her husband, so this can be a very, very tender battle. Let's get into it.
Let's get ready. Okay.
Now it is Steve that does have to make the charge here, but as you can see, Sandra is already closing the gap because Steve has that range damage, so once he gets into range, he can basically sit there. So there's no use in Sandra waiting for him to come to her. She may as well expend the energy right now and give herself the advantage later. There we are, he's in range, so he's going to do, well there we go, them magic missiles are going out and they are hitting Sandra head on. Not much damage though, she managed to get hit by them but not take any damage, which is really fantastic for her. Steve again closing the gap, he's going to fire out some armor piercing missiles in a moment here. Once he gets into range. There he is. Yep, he's in range now, so we should see him launching a crossbow bolt any moment now. Here it comes. Oh, straight into Sandra's shield. She managed to get an excellent block there. Did take a little bit of damage, but nothing too bad. There we go, one more. I don't know if he'll be able to get another one before she gets into range. That one didn't do too much damage to her either. Come on, Steve, you really want to get a few more hits in right now, or it's going to be all over for you. Nope, he's already getting out the sword. Here we go, the melee charge has begun. And Sandra is just coming into him, and Steve didn't even bother making a counter charge there. He just chose to take it on the chin. These guys, even though they are eloped, there is going to be nothing held back between these two. This is an all-out fight. They both want to get to that final. But Sandra is just dominating them right now. Steve was knocked to the ground, and he's only just got up. He's got a nice little stab there by himself. But Sandra is just dominating him right now, blocking his attacks and countering with some of hers. Again though, Sandra is rocked by the stabbing combination of Steve. Very impressive. It's basically even. Sandra has a little bit less, but I think that's from the armor-piercing missiles from earlier. I don't know if this is going to go either way, to be honest. Seems a pretty even matchup at this point, if you ask me. Sandra has something that Steve doesn't have. She has the Strength Through Spire, which is going to give her +5 to melee attack pretty much all the time. So, it's not too great for Steve right now, because he only has the reload skill, which is basically useless when you're in melee like this. Oh, there we see Sandra's taking the advantage of health. Already got a 300 lead on him. It's a much slower matchup than the other ones, but again, these guys are much more heavily armoured. So it's going to take a while. Oh, Steve is knocked to the floor again. Sandra really needs to maintain this pressure if she wants to get this victory. Whoa, Sandra, a fantastic jump there, but wasn't anywhere near target. There we go, they turn to face each other after whatever that was. Oh, Steve gushing blood from the abdomen there after that fantastic slash by Sandra. And another fantastic stab from both fighters right now. Since I last checked, Steve had lost so much health. He's on 721. Sandra's still on 2,000. This one is going home with Sandra. I can just tell you right now. Steve, for some reason, pulls out the crossbow. Not exactly sure what he's doing there. It's a very bold move. Oh, and Steve is down. Sandra takes the victory, and she'll be going to the quarterfinals. It was an excellent performance from Steve there. He did try his best. He got off those magic missiles at the start. Unfortunately, they didn't seem to get any damage done onto Sandra. I really think that he could have taken that, because he was holding up on his own quite well in melee up until the last point where she just managed to take over the advantage, and from there it was all downhill. But again, a fantastic performance from both fighters. First up in the semi-finals, we have Loki versus Maratha. Let's get into it.
Let's get ready. Okay.
Again, Loki does have to cross this great divide, which gives Maratha a little bit of an advantage on the vigour, but to be honest, I don't really think it's going to make that much difference because he just has so much armour. Although Maratha does have that armour-piercing damage, 240 armour-piercing damage, so she will be doing significant amounts of damage to him, but she has no armour of her own, so all of Loki's 450 damage will be going straight through her, basically. Again, Maratha does have a few spells to buff herself with and debuff Loki, but he has lots of spells to buff himself, especially in one-on-one combat. There we are. She's putting off a spell. There we go, fantastic debuff. I wouldn't have actually used the Soul Stealer just then. It seems very strange to use that when you haven't lost any health yet, but there you go, it's just lost enough health to make it worth it, I guess. Of course, Loki popped all of his abilities at once to get that charge bonus and the melee attack and the arm pierce and all this, and to be honest, Maratha's actually taking the early advantage. She's She's used that Soul Blight to take down some of his armor and his weapon damage, so she isn't going to be taking as much when he hits her. There we go though. Now that Maratha's run out of spells, Loki is taking the advantage. She's at 1200, and Loki is still at 2400. He is double her health right now. And he is smelling blood in the water once again, and he's going in for the kill. He's right up in her face. Fantastic stab there, just missed her. Oh, both these fires down. Is that Maratha already down? Wow, fantastic hit there from Loki. That was so fast. She was waiting for the attack, and he just stuck her right in the ribs. Now that battle was very quick. I did not expect it to be that fast. I thought it'd be a little more even, but Loki is proving to be very, very worthwhile for the money. I mean, he doesn't have any spells, but if you're looking for a Lord Assassin, this guy is an absolute monster. Those dual swords just going away, doing so much damage. I mean, credit to Maratha though. She did use several spells at the start there, which made me think she could have actually brought it back. But I think she used that Soul Stealer a bit too quickly, and she just didn't really get the worthwhile replenishment out of it that she really needed to bring herself the victory. But either way, Loki is going on to the final. Now we have Sandra, and she's going up against Crone Hellbron. I mean, Crone Hellbron, she has armor piercing, anti-infantry, and dodge, so even though she isn't a duelist, she has all the core components of being a very, very competent fighter in this matchup. That dodge especially is going to give her lots of resistance against many types of damage. But stats aside, Hellbron also enjoys being an Avon representative in an attempt to stay younger, using their many range of products. And of course, the only family that she really has is her ex-husband Kane, who she's been desperately trying to get back with.
Let's get ready to rumble again.
We are in our second to last matchup, and Sandra has the task of crossing this great divide to get to Crone Hellbron. Now, I really can't call this one, because even though Sandra has all that armor and all that weapon strength, Crone Hellbron has armor piercing, and Sandra doesn't. Even though she only has 15 armor, it could make all the difference. And again, Crone, she has access to a few spells, not too many though. Just give herself some weapon damage and melee attack, and some more weapon damage and melee attack. Some more weapon damage and armor piercing, and blood frenzy as well, which, if she uses that effectively, could win herself this battle. I really can't call this one just yet. Getting into range now, Crone has already set off. She's making the charge. She's going to meet Sandra head on in this matchup. Jeez, that's a fantastically cool looking spell there. That was Heroic Killing Blow and Witch's Brew. It's seriously doing some damage to Sandra right now. Foe Seeker and Deadly Onslaught popped off, but damn, I really don't think it's going to be enough. See, this is just exactly like I was saying, that armor, it just isn't doing anything versus this fantastic armor piercing damage from Crone. And even though Crone has no armor herself, she can just do so much damage that isn't going to matter in the time difference. While Crone is rampaging right now, she's uncontrollable. She's just going to keep attacking Sandra until she's dead. Oh my god, Sandra is basically down 300 health. Any one of these hits could be the last. Here it comes, it could be the end now. There it is, Sandra is on the floor. Hellbron will be going into the final. Another fantastically fast matchup. These ones are proving to be pretty speedy. Much faster than the Tomb Kings, that's for sure. Now Sandra, like I said, she did a fantastic charge and initially did quite a little bit of damage to Hellbron, but after that it was basically all the damage she did. I mean, Hellbron also has those poison attacks which just slowed down Sandra and just reduced all the damage she was doing, and it just proved to be too much. And of course the Witch's Brew and all the abilities that Hellbron could just put out there, it just gave her such an advantage, and I'll be very, very interested to see how she does against Loki. Here we are, the final of the Dark Elves, Loki Fellheart versus Crone Hellbron. Let's go.
Let's get ready to rumble again.
Here we are, Loki is making his attack up, and while he does, I really can't call this one. Like, I would have said it's going to be Loki all the way because of how well he's been performing, and he has the duelist, but it's just that Crone has that armor piercing damage, so I really don't think his armor is going to really come into it. I mean, 330 AP damage, that's going to cut straight through him, and got exactly the same health basically. And the only thing that Loki has is a little bit more melee defense, but again, once Hellbron gets that poison damage on him, I mean, look at that, everything basically drops. Much less damage and much less speed, so Loki can't even run. And of course she has all those abilities that can make it even more strong, but we're just going to have to see how this goes. I really couldn't call it. Here we are, there we go. Hellbron again using that fantastic ability there, and she's got a great hit on Loki. Both of these guys, fantastic charge, fantastic hits in each other. Both dual sword infantry as well, so there's no advantage for either one there, but Loki is already at the disadvantage by 300 health. Again, still at 300 health, but it could go either way. He's used Deadly Onslaught, Foe Seeker again. Of course, he just keeps spamming them as soon as they're off cooldown. Complete correct thing to do. This one is super close, guys. There is not even 100 HP in it. I think it just depends who's going to land all the attack. And there it is. Loki's melee defense has come into play and he's taking the advantage. Only by a little bit though. Only by about 130 or so health. There we go. Look at that. That is so close. 18 health between these guys. I cannot call this. You cannot make this up. Oh, but Crone, she takes the advantage. 825. He's down by 75 health. And he just missed his attack. That could well cost him this. But Hellborn just missed hers. Both these guys continually missing attacks here. They really need to start landing these hits if one of them wants to take it. There we go. Crone just missed a hit, and Loki has the advantage by 300 health. And I think he's just going to keep this now. 1 or 2 more hits, and either one of this could take it. There we go. Hellborn is down. Loki is going to the final. That was such a nail-biting match. It really could have gone either way. I was thinking it was going to be Loki, just because of that duelist bonus, but Crone brought a fantastic performance. That AP damage and all those abilities that would debuff Loki, especially that poison damage, just made it so close. It really could have gone either way. If the melee attack and defense had worked out different and Loki had taken more hits, I really think Crone could have done that. But either way, Loki is going to the final and will be representing the Dark Elves against the Tomb Kings, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this tournament. If you want to see more episodes of this, please do leave a like and a comment, as it really does help out a lot. And if you want to see more of any of my videos, please do consider subscribing, as it is free, and I do appreciate it so much. If you want to see more videos like this, such as Tomb Kings, which happened last week, there'll be a link in the card and in the description for a playlist to the series. For now, I was COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I'll see you next turn.